The additions and deletions, to the agenda. Does the board have any items which need to be removed? Mr. Beltran on the board, do we?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is one item that I'd like to add to the agenda under legal, regular agenda, Riverside Heights litigation settlement offer. Our attorney has worked very diligently on this item, and we hopefully have a amenable result for the board to accept today.
What number is that?
It'll end up being 52 or 53B.
Add until it's not been in our packet. Okay, thank you.
Do we have any information on that you're going to pass out?
Yes.
later on?
We passed it out earlier. There should be a recap
Information
of the
needs to be
settlement agreement and a
Thank you
copy
very
of the
much.
slide in your material.
Thank you. There is good cause to amend the published agenda as filed by section 120.525 of the Florida statute. May I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. At this time, the public is given opportunity to comment on any topic that's currently not listed on the agenda. I do not have a blue card, but if anybody has a blue card and wants to discuss on anything that's currently not on the agenda, please, Ms. Manuel, but if not, we'll continue to move on. Okay. Thank you. Did you want to speak before the consent agenda? Okay. I do not have any items or blue cards to talk about anything on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor to approve the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Motion carries. Before I relinquish, to the finance and outreach to David Dunbar, I'd like Mr. Beltran to just have a moment to talk about some wonderful news that was published in the press this weekend. Mr. Beltran?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to thank everybody for the hard work we've done this past week. We started our swim program back in 1987, and it's been a major contributor of what we've been accomplishing here at the district here lately. But last week, we released our new seagrass numbers. You can see them in front of you today. We are well above the 38,000 acres of seagrass restoration work we were accomplishing in Tampa Bay. And seagrass is such an important element of measurement of what we see when we see water quality in the bay, because it really depends on that sunlight and that clarity of the water to get to that grass in order for it to grow successfully. So I just wanted to take a second and recognize some of these efforts. It's been a huge effort for all of our district programs to make this accomplishment. Staff has done a fantastic job. There's a couple of members I want to call out specifically. As I mentioned, we're above the 38,000 mark. We're back to the 1950 levels. The bay, if you haven't been out there lately, is beautiful. If you go out there and enjoy some fishing or swimming or kayaking or whatever your pleasure is, it's an absolutely great experience, and it's a huge tribute to what we've accomplished together as a community. Just for the board's information, this has been going on for quite some time. Holly Green is in the audience. I'm going to recognize her in a minute. But over $150 million have been spent in cleaning up water discharging into the bay. Of that $150 million, about $90 million has come from this district. And so we really showed a leadership role in making things move and moving that ball forward when it comes to protecting the resource. And it's just a great accomplishment. We should all be proud of what we've just done. In your consent agenda, you just approved a contract to help continue the estuary program moving forward, and it's been, again, a huge success for us. I wanted to call out 2 or 3 of our staff that's worked very closely with this program over the several years through cooperative funding or through the swim program. Jeanette Seacrest, who's been with us for 11 years. Jeanette, are you in the audience? Stand up, Jeanette. I know how much you like to be embarrassed. And Jeanette's really been our forefront on all of our estuary programs and what she's done for us. We've recently promoted Jeanette to the Natural Systems Restoration Bureau Chief, and so we continue to see her be a huge leader in our organization as we move forward in the successful years. And I can't talk about seagrass. I had a chance to sit down with Chris Kaufman. Chris, are you here in the audience? Chris, stand up, please. Chris is kind enough to join us this morning. She's going to get out to the bay today and show some others about the great seagrass, but Chris has been with us for the last 10 years working on seagrass in itself and at the district for 12 years. Chris is one of those students we recruited straight out of school and has been a success here working with us here at the district. And so I tell you, this is her lifeblood. I spoke with her for about 30 minutes or 40 minutes the other day. I learned more about seagrass, and it was just a great experience and what's really happening out there in the bay. With that, I can't go further without talking about Holly and all the leadership she brought from the estuary program. Holly, if you'd like to step up and say something, we just want to thank you for all the hard work that you've put forward in gathering all our community partners to make this a success.
Well, thank you. And this is truly a community success. And the Water Management District has been such a large partner in this through your cooperative funding projects, through your seagrass restoration, through the SWIM program. And we are getting recognition around the world for meeting a target that was so aggressive when we first set it. And I think this is a moment for all of us to be proud and to look forward to continuing this success. So thank you very much for your continued partnership.
As Holly mentioned, we've been getting some great attraction and press, and I'll share this article with the board. I'll pass it around on what the great work we've done. So thank you again all. Thank you staff. Thank you Holly. Thank you all our community partners for just making this wonderful thing happen. It's such a great impact to not only the environment, but to our economics and the success of the Tampa area. So thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And now, as we relinquish the gavel to Committee Chair Dunbar, for the Finance Outreach and Planning Committee, Mr. Dunbar, I'd like, if you're okay with this, we have item number 28, and we have several individuals in the room who'd like to speak on 28, moving that ahead of item 26. Are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll call the Finance Outreach and Planning Committee together, and as Chairman Babb said, item number 28 will be moved to the front of the agenda. Just to give a little background, you recall at our last board meeting, we talked about preliminarily developing a business plan to guide the district in the years ahead. Components within that proposed business plan were discussed, and Mr. Rathke is going to take us through that today as it's an agenda item that these folks want to speak to. Mr. Rathke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the chairman mentioned, last month Brian Armstrong presented to you our new business plan. It was something that was unique for this district in that we hadn't really done something like that before. The business plan evaluated both short and long-term issues facing the district now and into the future. Specifically, it looked at issues associated with expertise, tools, and the capacity to execute projects. We also said at that time that we would come back this month and in future meetings with items that we thought the board should consider based on the recommendations of that plan, and that's what I'm here to do today. The two items that we're going to bring forward today are approving a new tool for the chemistry lab, and then also the consideration of the designation of this office as the district's principal office. The new tool, or not a new tool, but a replacement tool for the chemistry lab is called an inductively coupled plasma analyzer. We like to call it an ICP because that's a lot easier to say. What that piece of equipment does is it tests water samples for trace metals. We conduct about 13,000 analyses annually. It is a critical piece of equipment for MFLs, for water quality testing and the like, and it's at the point where it needs to be replaced. We did an analysis looking at the cost, looking at our business processes, as well as the quality of the sampling and the efficiencies that would be gained so that we could do a comparison as to whether or not we should buy new equipment or look at doing something else, changing our business process, what have you. Based on that analysis, we believe that the most appropriate thing to do is to replace the equipment. The current equipment is 12 years old. The average life expectancy is 7 to 9 years. It has a diminished value to us at this time. The estimated repair cost, once you actually get parts and everything else, would exceed the current value of the equipment. Also, we looked at the total cost of buying the equipment versus what could be saved, if anything, by outsourcing. It would actually cost us more money, about $30,000 a year, to outsource this activity. In addition to that, we evaluated the quality and efficiency of the sampling and testing, and based on all of that, we believe that the best thing to do at this time would be to ask the board or make a recommendation to the board to authorize us to transfer $111,737 from recurring operating expenses. So those would be monies that have been saved during the current budget year. We would transfer those in order to replace this piece of equipment. So that is
Move
our
to
first
approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion by the board. Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you.
The second item that I'm going to present to you today has more to do with expertise and with the district's future. We currently have 4 offices, Brooksville, Tampa, Bartow, and Sarasota. Of those, the Tampa office, this office, is the most centrally located office, and it offers the most access for the public that we serve. We have already gained efficiency by centralizing our regulatory components to this office. Our Office of General Counsel is located in this office. There is also a close correlation between regulation and resource management, and where it makes sense to do so over the next 5 to 10 years, we would see some coalition of those activities as well. 60% of those staff that currently work in that division also happen to live in the Tampa area. Currently, as you know, most of our board meetings are held in this office. All of our advisory committee meetings are held in this office. All of our budget hearings are held in this office, and that is due to its central location and its ease of access with I-75, I-4, 275, and 301 all coming together just outside our doors here. Additionally, the business plan looked at, as I mentioned, expertise and where it's going to come from in the future. Right now, we are looking at having a turnover in district staff of nearly everyone who works here over the next 5 to 10 years. That doesn't mean every individual will leave, but it does mean we're going to have a high degree of retirements and a high degree of potential turnover and need for recruitment. With that, we also have a large population that is growing, so there is going to be an increased demand for services that the district provides. Also, if the state continues to assist and prioritize issues such as springs, we will need to adjust to those demands as well. In order to do that, we are going to need to have a base to recruit appropriate staff from, and the Tampa Bay area has the highest population and highest workforce in the district. Additionally, there's going to be a big need for STEM or scientifically based engineers, hydrologists, biologists, et cetera, and this office is the most closely located office to the recruitment base coming out of many of the universities for that as well. So why would we have the principal office in Tampa? Just to recap, it's the most centrally located site. It's better access for the public. That's where we have the majority of our meetings. We've already located regulatory OGC staff here. It is also a consolidation that has already occurred. We have no plans at this time to move additional staff. It's also the fastest growing area in the district. That's the largest educated labor pool, and we see no reduction in the level of quality or service in any of our service offices, and we are not proposing, as may have been thought by some, to close any offices. We are not doing that. With that, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to entertain questions, but staff's recommendation is to designate the Tampa office as the principal office for the Southwest Florida Water Management District by approving Resolution 15-09, which is at your seats.
Thank you, Mr. Rathke. Questions or comments from the board? I do have cards for speakers. Anybody want to make a comment before we start? Or?
I like to listen to the speakers
Okay.
first.
Just reiterate what David just said. There are 2 things that are key, I think. This is part of a long-term business plan for review of the operation of the district for the future. And just to reiterate what he said, there were no plans to move any staff from Brooksville to Tampa, and there's no plans to close any offices in Brooksville. With that said, we do have 4 speaker cards. First one I have is the Honorable Senator Simpson.
Good morning. It's good to be here this morning. We are living in exciting times in the state of Florida. We're in the current legislature. We are discussing long-term statewide water policy, Amendment 1 money, and we're managing to do a great job with a headquarters in Brooksville, Florida for SWFWMD. And I'm here today because I represent Pasco, Hernandez, and Sumter counties in the legislature. And I've served on a lot of boards, and I congratulate all of you for giving up a lot of your personal time to come get beat up by the public And y'all get paid slightly less than what we get paid to serve in the legislature. And so, congratulations, and I know it's an honor for each of you to serve on this board. So when we look at business plans, and I've looked at a few through the years and served on a lot of different boards, we generally do not take into consideration what we just heard, right? Centrally located, access of educational centers, and all those kind of things. But what I would remind everyone here today is because in Brooksville, we want to maintain the headquarters in Hernando County in Brooksville. And why do we think that's appropriate? Well, when you look at the accomplishments of SWFMD over the last 30 years, originating in Hernando County and being housed in Hernando County, it's not been a detriment to all of the exciting things that SWFMD has accomplished. And so we'd say, well, what is the need to move to Hillsborough County? Most college kids that come out of college will have 10 jobs in their first 20 years of working experience anymore. Different from even my generation. I'm closer to your generation to their generation. And so we went to work somewhere and we stayed for 30 or 40 years. Most of the college kids are going to come out and go to work where the jobs are. In my experience, business experience, when you have a headquarters, it gets more attention. More people come there, more activities happen there, more ongoing concerns happen in those facilities. If we move that headquarters from Hernando County to any other county, then we're going to take the emphasis off of that Hernando County facility, is my opinion. And so I am asking that maybe you would reconsider moving the headquarters. And then I'm also going to suggest that if the headquarters is moved to Tampa and you currently live in the Hernando or Pasco area and you think, well, I'll just move to Hillsborough County because now the headquarters is going to be in Hillsborough County, I would suggest waiting for the legislative process to continue for the next year or so to make sure that it's going to continue to be the headquarters in Hillsborough County. So I would suggest that from a legislative perspective, from myself as one senator, I want that facility to stay in Hernando County, Florida. I think it's important. I think this group has accomplished many great things from having a headquarters in that location. And I think there's a lot of benefit to being in a small rural county. I grew up in a small rural area of the state and worked very hard, and I don't see any detriment from an educational perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, or any other perspective of why not to be in an area like that. So I'm pleading with the board today to hopefully reconsider this position, maybe table it until further study, and I know you've worked very hard on what you've currently done, and I would suggest that if you decide to go ahead and move forward, then the legislature will, look at this and take all options into consideration on what our options would be to remedy this. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Diane Rowden.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, and I'm Diane Rowden. I'm Hernando County Commissioner, and I would have brought a resolution from the County Commission, but since we found out, like everybody else, with an internal communication that we ended up seeing on Friday, that's the only way that the Board of County Commission found out that you were talking about moving the headquarters out of Hernando County. And after 53 years of being headquarters for Southwest Florida Water Management District, we're saddened and dismayed and frustrated that the county leaders were not informed earlier that the district staff was working on a business plan that would have negative impact on Hernando County. Hernando County, chosen as the district's headquarters, is a legacy established by Alfred McKeithen, one of Hernando County's most respected forefathers. The Board of County Commissioners is mystified as to how we were not included in discussion of this change. Business plans take months to create, sometimes years. There were plenty of times for your staff to include us, and we would have gladly done so. The district is an iconic employer for Hernando County with significant payroll that can provide a rewarding career path for residents in Hernando County. And on a personal note, I use my son and my daughter-in-law, who started with Southwest Florida Water Management District almost 15 years ago, and they worked for the district for 5 years. They ended up moving to New Hampshire, but because of their experience with the district and what they learned, they were able to use their experience to get very good jobs where they are and use that. So, you know, this is a wonderful area for people to get their experience and to work hard, and Hernando County should be reconsidered and not moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know about this next person. Let's see, a fellow banker, Mr. Kimbrough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Jim Kimbrough, and I had the pleasure back in the 80s of serving for several years as a member of your governing board. Pleasure and challenges, if you will, then as well as now. I'm here this morning as an officer and director of Hernando Progress, a nonprofit economic development organization funded by companies and individuals doing business in Hernando County that include but are not limited to Withlacoochee River Electric, Duke Energy, Tampa Electric, Hospital Corporation of America, Bright House, CEMEX, SunTrust, Bayfront, and many more. Needless to say, we oppose the thought, much less the action, of moving the headquarters of SWFWMD and more jobs to Tampa for many reasons. SWFWMD has a $10 million of taxpayer dollars invested in the Brooksville headquarters, which are modern offices. As for attracting qualified employees in Brooksville, for some 53 years, the staff grew from 2 in 1961, started by Mr. Trockman, to over 700 during that 53-year period of time. Most of those jobs were anchored in Brooksville, and the district carried out its legislative mandates with qualified people. The district has been and is a major employer in Hernando County, and would further suggest to you there are more reasons today to live and work in Hernando County and surrounding area than there were 53 years ago, with the shopping centers, the only Pete Dye golf course in the Tampa Bay area, World Woods Golf Club, ranked in the top 100 in the world in Brooksville. Commenting further on the Hillsborough Commission Chairman's comment in the paper today, Chairman Merman, she was quoted as saying, Hillsborough County is the center of the region. Well, if that logic is followed, board members, I suggest we should consider moving the nation's capital to St. Louis and Florida's capital from Tallahassee to maybe Orlando. People follow the jobs, especially state and government jobs. I submit the cost of living, the quality of life for your employees is much better in Hernando County and surrounding counties than in Hillsborough County. There's great transportation connectivity to the current headquarters. In fact, all roads lead to Hernando County. US 19, US 41, US 301, US 98, I-75, the Suncoast Parkway, and all of them connect to Highway 50, the only east-west road connecting the Gulf to the Atlantic through Central Florida. Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully request additional time, please. The Brooksville-Tampa Bay Regional Airport is adjacent to the headquarters with a control tower, conveniently serving your customers. As has been said, for 53 years, this location has served well the real estate development, agribusiness, and tourism communities of the 16-county West Central Florida area. Pasco Hernando State College, St. Leo University are both local as well as USF campuses and convenient sources of employees for the district. As a fifth-generation Hernando County, personally, my office has been in Brooksville for 48 of the SWFWMD's 53 years there. The SWFMUD employees have been an anchor in the Hernando County community and surrounding counties for over a half a century. They are woven into the fabric of the community. Churches, schools, civic clubs, youth activities, enjoying the quality of life of quiet neighborhoods, of nature, low crime rates, and yet close to all the amenities of a metro area. One might ask the question, why was Brooksville chosen as the headquarters 53 years ago? I submit, the event that served as the catalyst for SWFMUD was a hurricane in 1961, I believe. Flooding that occurred, millions of dollars in damage, particularly in Hernando County. And the organizing chairman was from Brooksville, as has been mentioned already. I further submit the organizing board were many deep-rooted West Central Florida business and political leaders who knew well of the parochial battles around the Tampa Bay and across the Bay areas. And in their great wisdom, in my opinion, they selected neutral ground for the Hatfields and McCoys to meet and disagree or agree on order issues of that day and in the future. Mr. Chairman, for the record, to the best of my knowledge, there was no public notice on your agenda for this meeting or prior meetings of the discussion or potential action to relocate this 53-year-old SWFMUD headquarters. In closing, our request of you is to please keep this headquarters in Brooksville for all the reasons mentioned. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kimbrough. Have one more card, is it Natalie? Is that correct, your last name? Kayla. Kayla, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board, for your time and attention. I'm Natalie Kaler, and I serve on the Brooksville City Council. And since our inception of this organization 53 years ago, Brooksville has done a tremendous job, spearheaded by one of our very own citizens, of providing this district with quality employees. And we had a meeting last night and unanimously asked the mayor to send a letter, which I'm going to read to you this morning, and I do have copies for you. Dear Honorable Chairman and Governing Board members, the headquarters principal office of the Southwest Florida Water Management District has been located in Brooksville, Hernando County for almost 54 years. Today, with limited public knowledge or input, you are being asked to approve that the headquarters principal office be moved from Brooksville to Tampa. This very significant change is being presented for approval through an update to the district's business plan. Since the district's beginning in 1961, the headquarters have been located in Brooksville, Hernando County. By 1964, the district built its first facility on 5 acres of the Brooksville Army Airfield property, currently the Brooksville Tampa Bay Regional Airport. The requested change in the headquarters principal office location has not been well publicized or noticed for public input or discussion. In fact, even the materials produced for your board meeting do not provide a transparent or clear understanding of the proposed change in location. Last evening, during regular session, the Brooksville City Council voted unanimously to ask you, the governing board, to take no action today regarding relocation of the district's headquarters principal office. Please allow for this significant change to be vetted and heard in a publicly noticed meeting where the public is given the opportunity to be a part of the discussion and provide input before you make your decision. Thank you for your consideration. Regards, signed, Frankie Burnett, Mayor of Brooksville, and approved by all members of council. And I will add that this was important enough that our city manager and mayor were up all night making sure that this was prepared properly. And I hope that that helps you know how important this is to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaler. My compliments to all 4 speakers. Very articulate, very passionate, obvious understanding as to why. But I did want to reiterate again, as I said, and David articulated when he spoke, that we're not talking about moving the headquarters from Brooksville to Tampa. We're not talking about transferring any employees from Brooksville to Tampa. This is a designation as part of the business plan. While that has some connotations. We've had 4 speakers, and now I'll open it up for the board for comments. I have one, Mr. Adams, and then Mr. Maggard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the speakers. And I'll start off, Jeff Adams from St. Petersburg, and explain the basis of my thought process on this decision. It is emotional. I understand that. There could have been, should have been better communication. But from my seat as a member of this board, I look at this and try to factor in a few different matters. Staff recommendation on a business plan. Staff recommendation is a great weight to me as a board member. I give great deference to staff in matters that we feel that is appropriate for them, that they have the information and the knowledge to provide us with recommendation. Culture and history of the district is preference. I understand 53 years in Hernando County, but, and that's a big but, going forward, we shouldn't be hamstrung by just the culture and the history that we've enjoyed and has been beneficial to the district. It's a factor I consider, but it is not a deciding factor. Community and a partner. I want to treat those that we've been involved with, whether it's on cooperative funding or whether it's where our district headquarters has been. And that's Brooksville and that's Hernando County. I want to make sure that it's not unduly harmful. I've heard mentioned today probably 4 or 5 times on how it doesn't mean we're shutting an office down. It doesn't mean that we're moving employees. I still understand that there should be leeriness, concern in Brooksville and Hernando County about, well, if you're not doing any of those things, why are you doing designating Tampa then potentially a principal office? I want to make sure that it's fair to the employees that we presently have, that we're not looking to move people, that we're not looking to upset their life and their family life. But the ultimate decision that I have to base my vote on is what's best for the district. And that's short-term and long-term. There's no crystal ball on that. There's pros and cons that need to be considered, that I am sure staff has considered and looked at. And I appreciate that it's emotional. I appreciate the culture and the history and the concern for what this means to Brooksville and to Hernando County. But my decision, and presently I am strongly leaning towards in favor of supporting staff's recommendation and Tampa being designated as the principal office for SWFWMD, and that's with concerns as to what that means long-term to Brooksville and Hernando and our campus up there. But based upon those factors is where and how I will arrive at my vote on this issue. And I appreciate everyone being here. I am disappointed that I had to hear the communication wasn't better, that there wasn't more involvement locally in the community. I don't have an explanation or excuse for that. But my decision, and I think other board members here have other factors they'll consider, but I think also would agree with me that their consideration is based on listening to people and understanding this affects lives. But our decision has to be based on what's best for the district, and that's where my vote will come down.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Chairman.
Mr. Maggard?
Thank you very much. I also want to thank the speakers that took their time to come here today and enlighten us on some things. Very rarely do I ever disagree with Mr. Adams, but today I will. I'm a big business person. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm a small business, but like business, put it that way. And business plans are very important to us as we go forward, and I'm full for it. But at the end of the day, we have to look more than I agree with Mr. Adams. We are put here to really look out for what's best for SWFMUD in our area. And our area also defines our relationships with citizens, counties, state, and that is important. It bothers me that we did not reach out to them earlier. We did not sit down and have this conversation, though we have many reasons why to move it. We have many reasons why to keep it, but tradition does play effect on where we all come from in our area. And I have a hard time supporting it, especially today, not knowing that we did not talk to these individuals and sit down with the county and have these discussions. This is a long-term plan. This is something we're not going to do tomorrow. I believe there's time for us to still have these conversations and not have something come out of the blue and catch them off guard. Even though, listening to staff, there's not going to be a major change. But at the end of the day, our partners in Hernando and others don't know that for a fact. So as Mr. Adams is leaning for it, I'm leaning against my vote for this until we at least have this conversation with our partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Maggart.
Don't know that we disagree.
Okay. Well, good. I feel much better now.
No, you shouldn't, but.
Mr. Bronson?
Yes, thank you. Fellow board members, let me say, I'm from Brooksville and was on an early basin board. I think one of the first basin boards way back in the early 60s. The Water Management District has played an extremely important role in its leadership and the quality of the employees at the district headquarters throughout the years that I've lived in Brooksville, which has been all of the years since I just mentioned 62, I think it was, or 61. I think that we ought to consider, and if it's in order, Mr. Chairman, to put a motion before the board, I would like to suggest that the thing we do today is to move the adoption of the business plan with the exception of the headquarters matter, and that the chair appoint a committee to look into this matter and make sure that all of the points of view about the wisdom and the methods of moving the headquarters. I can tell you that I have satisfied myself that the economic harm doesn't exist with the present plans, as I understand it, from the executive director and the various conversations that I've participated in over the last few days. So it would be a constructive thing, and I think a clear demonstration of the kind of relationship that the Water Management District wants to have with all of its constituents, that we do that. And Mr. Chair, if it's not inappropriate, I'd like to move that we adopt the business plan as presented with the exception of the location of the headquarters immediately, and that the chair appoint a committee to further investigate this with all the affected parties.
Mr. Bronson, it's a good idea. If I could ask your indulgence, I have two more board members would like to speak, and then we'll entertain that motion.
That's fine.
Bruce?
Thank you. I'd like to thank the four members that took their time to come visit with us today. This is an uncomfortable position for this particular board member because obviously we should have reached out and engaged the people that are here today in advance, because in my experience, when all the facts are taken into consideration, typically better decisions are made. So so you didn't have time, or we didn't communicate the facts in advance enough, because there is absolutely, as Mr. Bronson has laid out, my discussions is there is no economic effect, negative effect to Hernando County. Matter of fact, that as Florida continues to grow, all of the district will have to grow with it. You just can't absorb that growth without expanding the services. So the designation of an address is more about the centralization for what the staff has recommended. As we grow, it just diametrically easier to service the 16 counties that we have the privilege of saying grace over. So, but in that particular vein, I don't think it would be disadvantageous for this board to postpone this until June so that we can have the time to sit down and properly discuss with the affected members what the plan is and how we don't really think it's a negative for Hernando and Brooksville in general. So I'm just upset, I guess, that we didn't do a better job of that. But things happen. We're not perfect, and we can only do what we can to fix it at this point. But I do believe in the staff and the recommendation they're made in general, because I've known about the dynamics of the growth of the district and what's projected over the next 20 or 30 years, and all these offices will grow as time allows. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Baruf. Mr. Sin?
Mr. Chair, you mentioned I had some seniority on the board, and I would like to contribute some of that seniority to the board with my comments. A couple of years back, when I was chair, we had an issue to deal with in one of the sub-offices. I don't know if everyone's aware, we have an office in Sarasota, Bartow, Tampa, and Brooksville being headquarters right now. But the Bartow office was something we dealt with, and this plan has been evolving. And I share the board's comments about including and involving the local community, and they've been such a good partner over the years. And I can support the discussion that we've just, last couple of speakers on the board have mentioned of a delay in the location portion, and support the plan. But I agree with the fact that we should have included a little more and had better communication. But back to the Bartow location situation, we sold the building. We've reduced and reassigned some duties and functions. We have not suffered in service or any major inconvenience. It's worked out fine, and that was during my term as chair. We made that decision, and there were some people in Bartow that were not happy. They did not want the de-emphasis on the Bartow area. Actually, the fastest growing area in the district, or one of the fastest, is northeast Polk County. And if we were going to go on volume of applications, we'd put an office up there. But that's not the most efficient way. Staff has given us an efficiency analysis and some good recommendations, but we still should include the local community in our final decision about the location. A couple of years back, I'd remind you of one other bit of history. We reduced staff by 40%. The economy tanked, and we had a lot fewer applications to process. So there was some time on people's hands, and we made some staff adjustments. It was some people that maybe were not permanent employees but were temporary. But we made those reductions. I don't know where those people lived. I don't know that we had a report based on how much it affected which community in the district, whether it was Tampa or Sarasota or Bartow or where. So we've had staff reductions, and I agree with the comments, Mr. Baruf, and I'm not sure that we would be able to identify the economic harm or damage to Brooksville area. But I would support us delaying that location portion of the plan. And keep in mind, it's an evolving situation. We started a couple of years ago reducing the Bartow office. We've reduced staff all over the district in the last 3 or 4 years. And we continue to make adjustments in our business plan as we go. This is a long-range plan. It will not be implemented overnight. And it does concern me that in the next 10 years, 98% of our staff will retire. And where we get the STEM degree trained, certified people, science, math, technology, engineering, people with those qualifications, I'm under the impression that the young people like the bright lights of the big city and seem to lean that way, the young people that we would be recruiting. Now, if somebody can convince me that I'm wrong, then I'll consider that. But all the studies and human resources that I've read, reports that I've read, indicate that we would have a better chance of recruiting those 98% retiring in the next 10 years. We would have a better chance of recruiting them if we said with a label that headquarters was Tampa. But I personally love smaller communities. That's why Mr. Kimbrough was talking about where the capital should be. It shouldn't be Orlando, it should be Haines City. That's the geographic center of the state, but we don't want it. So, but anyway, their location is not everything, but we've got a lot of things to consider. We've been going through this, and we'll continue to study the efficiencies and do the best thing for the district. I'm with Mr. Adams. That will be my deciding factor, will be what I think is best for the district over this next 10 years.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Board Chairman Babb.
I too want to thank all the speakers who've come in today to give us their thoughts and feelings, their feelings, and share their emotions, but also to recognize Representative Ned Hans, who did not speak but was here today. To echo what Mr. Baroof and also Mr. Adams said, I want to commend the staff. This is something that staff has been looking at, not just for the last 30 days. Business plan pops up 30 days ago, and they want to make a decision to move the headquarters from Brooksville to Tampa. This is something that I've known that the staff has looked at, has leaned on, has been doing the hiring, has been doing the reviewing, has seen the growth of the district, and has put a lot of time, a lot of effort into making this recommendation to the board, and taking it very seriously. I do value the opinions and the emotions that we've heard here today, and I'm in agreement to maybe postponing this decision for the next 30, 60 days, potentially with a committee to hear those. But with that being said, I want to make sure that as we go forward on this, as Mr. Maggart stated, this board's direction and its fiduciary responsibility is what's in the best interest of SWFWMD. And so we need to take that into consideration as we look forward to making this decision, to weigh in the emotions, to take out the politics, to take out the emotions, and to do what's in the best interest of SWFWMD. We know what the growth is. We know where the district is moving towards, and we have to be responsible in our decision making and going forward. But in doing so, I do agree that because this is kind of brought up and is now brought to the attention of individuals, to listen to them, to take 30, 60 days, and to vet and hear what everybody has to say. So, Mr. Bronson, I agree with you. So either put together a committee or to postpone this and allow staff to hear the information and bring it towards us again within 30, 60 days.
Thank you, Mr. Babb. Other comments? Well,
I would just
Mr. Adams.
shortly add, understand postponement. I want Hernando to be heard, Brooksville to be heard, and I would probably, rather than rush on 30 days, say 60, and make sure that as governmental bodies, they have the opportunity to gather to speak themselves.
Okay, if there are no other comments, I had a motion that was postponed so everyone could speak. The motion was by Mr. Bronson that this board adopt the business plan as recommended by staff, with the exception of the designation of the location of the district's headquarters, and that be studied and brought back to this board in 60 days. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
I have a second. Discussion on the motion. All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
Mr. Moran votes no. Thank you. Again, echo the thoughts to those folks who came and participated today. Thank you very much. And that gives us some time to vet this situation between the community and this board. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to continue with this committee, or do you want to revert back? Keep going?
Yes,
Okay.
please keep going.
Thank you.
It's all yours. I guess we get to go to the investment quarterly update
Great.
now, I guess.
Okay. We have a couple of other items for the committee. Number 26 is the investment quarterly update.
This lady?
Good morning to the board. I'm Linda Howard, Finance Bureau Chief. Today, we have item 26 and 27 we're going to take together.
Okay.
We didn't get a chance to talk to the board about the quarter ending March 31st, so we're going to do a brief recap, a market update, and we also want to follow up on some questions you had on how we can increase our yield. We'll do those two presentations together. Our investment advisors are going to come and talk and then answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Linda.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. John Grady with Public Trust Advisors.